Look at this pub called the Wat Tyler, which we know from the Peasants' Revolt, don't we? So where am I? I'm in Dartford, amongst these old Tudor-style buildings. Now we know that Jane was a Hampshire lass. You know, she was born there, educated there, had several homes, and ultimately passed away there. So why Kent? Well, actually Kent has a significant connection to Jane Austen, mostly through her brother, but she had her great uncle who lived in Sevenoaks, and so she would have visited Kent frequently. I was going to say on frequent occasions. So I've come here specifically to find one thing, and it's not the church, but isn't that magnificent? But if we walk up here on the high street, we used to have, it was demolished in 1981, the Bull and George, which was a coaching inn which served along the route from London to Kent. So Jane Austen actually stayed here at the Bull and George Inn. I'll overlay a picture here for you so that you can see what it looked like. Certainly not from the 1800s, but, you know, in the 60s, that kind of thing. There is this thing that someone will want to have some kind of connection with Jane Austen, so they will put up a blue plaque, and I don't mind that. I think that's quite interesting. So where we now have Boots, the pharmacy, that whole building was built in 1981 when they demolished the Bull and George. But there is a plaque, so let's go and have a look. Jane Austen, 1775 to 1817, noted novelist. Jane Austen stayed at the former inn on this site, the Bull and George, when travelling to visit her brother in Canterbury. So Dartford has a Jane Austen connection, which is it's like a 2-minute visit for me. But I wanted to include it. So now that we're in Kent, I'm going to visit Sevenoaks because her great uncle and godfather, Francis Austen II, lived there. And I'm also going to travel into Kent. I'm not going to do Canterbury. I think there is a connection in Canterbury where Jane visited, was it possibly Thomas Knight's wife, and they subsequently inherited Whitefriars in Canterbury. But Canterbury, Whitefriars is now just a shopping centre, so there'll be no connection with Jane there at all. So I'm not doing Canterbury, but I am going to go down to Godmersham and Gunstone. So we'll start by visiting Sevenoaks. Let's go. So I now found myself in Sevenoaks, and it's a hustle-bustle place. But I'm specifically interested in this building here, the Red House. I'll give you some information on it in a minute, but let's go over and look at the plaque on the front. The Red House, built 1868, the home of Dr. Fuller, pharmacist, and later of Francis Austen, the uncle of Jane Austen. So the Sevenoaks Preservation Society plaque. Who was Francis Austen? And what's the significance of this house? Well, let me cross this busy road because traffic's crazy here. Come to Sevenoaks and visit Jane Austen sites, and then we'll have a quick discussion about Francis Austen and the Red House. In July 1788, at the age of 12 and a half, Jane Austen visited her great uncle, Francis Austen, who was a prosperous lawyer and resided in the Red House. During this visit, Jane was introduced to other members of the Austen family, and it's believed that her uncle commissioned the artist Ozias Humphrey to paint the Rice portrait during this time, and I'll put that on the screen. Now, it was Jane Austen's great uncle who paid for her father George to attend the nearby Tonbridge Grammar School and later St John's College in Oxford. So Jane's parents presumably thought that their daughters should meet their father's benefactor. It is so impressive, isn't it? I always want to go and knock on the door and ask, you know, I'm doing a video on Jane Austen. Can I have a look, see what's what? So yeah, at the age of 12 and a half, she came here, and she would have been introduced to all the gentry and all the people that Francis Austen would have rubbed shoulders with, and that included the Sackvilles, who owned an old park at the back of the house. There's an actual picture of kind of like an artwork or a stencil of the house with its garden. It had a magnificent garden in the back. Fabulous. I am going to Knoll House because I want to do some photography. However, I want to show you something quickly just down the way here. Just down here, this building used to be a pub. And there's another significant connection with Sevenoaks that I have in my video making. Because I did a video about the Beatles visiting here in 1967 when they filmed Strawberry Fields Forever and sections of Penny Lane. If you're interested in the Beatles, check out this video up here. I'll put a thing on the screen. However, what is now Leverett's used to be an antique shop. And it was in this window, in this shop, that John discovered the poster for Pablo Fanke's circus, which eventually became The Benefit of Mr. Kite.
For the benefit of Mr. Kite, there will be a show tonight on trampoline.
And you can actually see that in the poster. It's fabulous. So they've placed a copy of it. In the window. It's fabulous. Sevenoaks has connections with the Beatles and Jane Austen. And Tudor Smith, who sometimes takes his life in his own hands crossing these roads. So that was it, the Red House. Perhaps I should have come here at 6 a.m. when there was no traffic. I just recorded it. So moving further afield then, having done Dartford and now Sevenoaks, let's go down to the Weald of Kent, kind of where I live, because the next couple of locations are on my doorstep. Well, the doorstep of where I live. So let's go there.